Jimmy, welcome back here to PDRA TV, and we made our way here to Parma, Michigan, the hometown of the racing emporium that is Westcott and Melissa Racing Products, Charlie Westcott Jr. and Sr. And Charlie, welcome to the show, man. How you doing? Doing well?
Yeah, we're doing really good. Getting ready for the next year, working on stuff over the winter. Starting on some new projects and keeping up with the ones we've been going, making a lot of camshafts, doing a lot of custom racing parts of all types. You know, it's kind of what I've got into lately. Instead of building engines, I'm kind of transitioning more into components. I like it.
Okay, so here's the biggest news as far as I'm concerned of the year and of the season. Jimmy, I got to have you do this, man. The crew chief's running around here with his crew chief shirt on, but I got to have you turn that camera around. And Drew Olson, go ahead, and Drew Olson, you can get in there. Go on and do your work. It's fine. Come over here and tell me what we're looking at, why, how, when. I mean, it's obviously a Ford Mustang Pro Stock car. What made it come to this, and, gosh, what do you anticipate out of it?
Well, I anticipate building an engine over the winter, and hopefully it turns out okay. You know, I used to say earlier last year I was talking about doing this, and I said, well, I'm going to build an engine first, and if the engine's good, then I'll buy a car. Well, the time, in my opinion, came to just go ahead and buy the car. Then, A, that's going to force me to build an engine, and B, you know, there's really not many of these Mustangs out there used, and this one came up for sale because the owner, Jim Cunningham, passed away. And I kind of had my eye on this car anyways. It's really a nice-looking, low-run, never really been hurt car, and I decided to go ahead and buy it. And I'm working on engine stuff right now. I acquired a lot of engine parts from Ford, you know, just brand new blocks and heads. I didn't buy anybody's used blocks and heads and really anything because I got my own ideas how I want to do things, and I'm just going to do it my way and, you know, see how it works out.
You started out on the cylinder heads, and you started out with some clay models, and you made your own design. Am I right about that? And ran those things through the machine until you got them where you wanted them.
Well, actually what I did, and I don't know if anybody else has done it this way, but I bought a 3D printer. The price on those has come down so much. I think I paid like $3,500 for it. And I made 3D printer models of ports. I can design the ports from scratch on my computer. And I made the port models, and I made like 11 different ones. And we tried them out on the flow bench just to evaluate, you know, not only airflow, but, you know, air quality and airspeed and everything. And when we got done with the models, I cut the finished part into a real head, and then I redid it 4 more times, you know, and basically I've got a finished head that I like that I'm going to use on my first engine. And also in the meantime, I designed the whole valve train for the engine, and we went over to Jessel's and ran it on the Spintron, and it showed really good results. It went really high and, you know, worked pretty good. So I'm actually going to the next step and building a new Spintron engine to change a few things and go back over there. Probably within a month I should be able to go back and test it again.
I know it's blowing a lot of folks' minds, and Jimmy, if you would be so kind, I would like to first of all introduce Charlie's beautiful wife, Missy, over there. That's Judy. That's Charlie Sr.'s other beautiful wife, the other beautiful lady of the house and of the what I call the fortress up here. But, you know, it's really kind of strange. You start with small block Chevrolets. You jump into hemispherical head, Hemi head motors, and basically dominate. I mean, there's no gray area about that. And then now it's a Ford Mustang. I mean, the only person I can compare you to is the great one, Bob Glidden, who proved it. Whatever he put his hands on, he can make it run, make it work.
That's a real big compliment to say that. I've met Bob once. I actually called him on the phone before I bought this car because he drove this car, I think. He drove one of Cunningham's cars. And I called him to see what he knew about it. And he was real quiet on the phone. He didn't talk much. He's a soft-spoken guy. I don't know what happened to the guy that used to be around, but he must have mellowed out a little bit. But basically, I wasn't going to build a Camaro because everybody's got a Camaro, and I knew that I was not going to be able to get any help from GM because they're going to help the guys that are out there, like Greg and Jason and, whoever.
Right.
So I actually, it's kind of funny, about 3 years ago, I talked to the Dodge guy, Dale Aldo, which I know from the Hemi shootout thing, and I said, I want to build a Pro Stock engine. What can you do for me for a block and a set of heads? And he came back in about a month, and he wanted $13,000 for a block and 2 heads, and I said, I can't do that. So then, in the meantime, I met Jesse Kershaw at Ford, and Jesse wanted me to come to Milan to one of their Mustang races that first year that they had the blower Mustangs.
Right.
And they wanted me to match race Randy Hopkins, or, basically fall on the sword, because I knew I was going to get murdered by that blower Mustang. So I told Jesse, can you help me out with some parts? I want to build a Pro Stock engine. And he didn't give me anything, but he sold me the stuff really right. And that's kind of how it got started. And that stuff had actually been sitting around here for about 3 years. I never did nothing with it. And then really, other than doing computer modeling and, designing parts, not a chip had been made until about 3 months ago when I actually started making some parts. And I'm looking forward to it. I've got all the preliminary designs made on the engine, the cylinder head, the valve train, the block. Basically, I just got to start doing it. I'm waiting on a couple parts to get back here to finish it up. And I hope to have an engine done within a couple months.
It's pretty hard to put into words, Jimmy. If you know this, I still call him a kid because he is still a kid to me. When I look at my 32-year-old over here and the fact that I got 2 grandkids and I got this kid who now has a few kids of his own, which I think is very cool, and a beautiful wife. What do you anticipate, and what's the time frame look like for the thing?
I didn't look at the dates of the races, but, I'd like to, as soon as the weather gets nice, I'd like to be able to test the car, see how it goes. And then, we've got a few races around here, like Norwalk, for instance. That'd be fun to go to Norwalk. And that's one thing I've said to people that I don't like about the Hemi thing is you got one race a year in Indy, and I'm tired of going to Indy. And, the other thing about Indy and me going to that is it's kind of a weird level of pressure or stress because people expect me to win.
Yeah, they do.
And you go there thinking, well, if I screw up, not only am I going to look like a retard, you got to sit around till next year and wait to come back. And I would rather have the opportunity to go all over, just like we did back in the old days. We'd take the comp car, go to Englishtown or Reading or wherever, and not just be limited to going to one race.
Yeah, I agree with that. More than 1,000%. I got to throw a plug in here, Jimmy, while he's doing this with my son, Drew, who's throwing on the very first logo to go on this Ford Mustang project of Charlie's. And I don't know whether your crew chief's at. He's running around here somewhere, your dad. I was hoping to get him on the air. I doubt that I will because I think he's a little bit shy of the camera. But I just got to say, man, I'm not kidding. On behalf of myself and Drew, that throughout the course of many, many, many years, and you've always been a hero of mine, and I never forget the days that the day or the time of day that you literally walked up to us and said, if you give me a chance, I think I can make that stuff run for you. You always call it junk, but then you did exactly what you said you'd do. I don't have any doubt in my mind that, and I don't think anybody that ever watches this video will either, that this car will ultimately will run, I should say. But what do you make right now of the status of 500-inch Pro Stock? What's your thoughts on the way it looks right now?
I think the problem with Pro Stock is most of these guys that race don't know how to do anything. So, short of Greg and Jason, or, that's the first ones that come to mind because they do everything in-house. Everybody with a Pro Stock car buys their heads from Carl Fultz, even though they probably could get pretty close with doing it themselves if they wanted to put the effort forth. But everybody's afraid to take a chance, and they just want to go the easy route no matter what it costs. And I was told a guy last week, I did an interview, and I said, the market is set by what the traffic will bear. When that stuff happens, it just drives the price up of everything. Well, then they start renting engines for 40 and 50 grand a race. And, sooner or later that deal is just going to have to stop. But I don't really know if it ever will or what's going to happen to make it stop. But that's why people don't really understand how I'm able to do this. Well, I can do this because I spent 75 grand on this car. That's really the most expensive thing I got to buy. Yeah. All the engine stuff I can build myself. I don't have to wait on somebody to design it or think it up. Or the other thing that happened when I used to have other people make stuff is things get lost in translation. You know, I think I want it done this way, then you got to tell this guy, and he's got to tell that guy, and it's just
The old he said, she said syndrome before it's done.
Yeah, it just doesn't work out. You know, the best way to do it is to do it yourself, and I basically have been able to teach myself how to do that, and here we are.
I commend my friend Ricky Smith, same thing, who just won his second Pro Mod World Championship. He'll tell you, you know, when they threw 50 pounds on his car, you know, he said, everybody just needs to get to work, you know what I mean?
That happens, and it happened to us, and, you know, whoever's the fast guy always gets penalized by the sanctioning body somehow. I mean, it's just like when they'd refactor one of our cars and put weight on it, or they put weight on the stick shift cars in the Hemi class, or they hit Ricky. Or look at the Vance and Hines, the motorcycle guys, when they got screwed by NHRA on their engine deal. And the funny thing about that is one of the head tech guys at NHRA told me they're going to come back and beat us as fast as they ever were, and they are. You know, if you're good, you're going to always be good, and you're going to figure it out no matter whether you're penalized or not.
All it did was made him mad. I can't tell you how honored I am to be here, how honored I am to be your friend, how glad I'm going to be when I get to show up at Indy and just going to be me and your dad driving the Hemi cars. I can't wait for that to happen. Jimmy, you got to get a shot of that Trick Crew Cheese shirt that Charlie Sr.'s got on right there real quick. But hadn't got the newest made just yet. But more than anything, I just want to say thank you for being good to me and Drew during our careers in racing. And we look forward to helping out and hanging out with this machine and maybe getting to, what is it he said? Oh, yeah, I might get to do what?
Get in the picture?
No, adjust the wheelie bars.
Well, yeah, you're the wheelie bar adjuster.
There you go. I hope so.
We need a wheelie bar adjuster and a door fanner and a burnout holder.
We need to get that fanner like that guy that Jason has there.
With a hat.
That's right. Charlie, thanks for everything. Appreciate it. And as always, best of luck. And I'm quite sure it'll work out the way you want it to.
Hopefully it will. And we don't accept anything but success.
You've been watching a PDRA TV in-house production.